From the studio's election yard here, March 24th, 2026, some special elections in Florida, and a rare bad night for the Republicans in Florida. There were three special elections, one in the Senate, two in the House. The Republicans were defending all three, and the Democrats ended up flipping two of them. One of them has a very, very famous resident. We will get to that. So let's just get right into it because these are really interesting results in Florida. There's a lot to break down here. We're going to start with Senate District 14. So we're going to put that up on the screen for you right now. You see that patch of red right there. This district is all in Hillsborough County. So part of Tampa is in it. Tampa International Airport is in this district, as well as cities and towns to the northwest of Tampa. Now, in the last general election, this was a Republican seat, about 54 or 55%. So the Democrats thought that they had a chance in this seat, and guess what? They were right. They ended up flipping this district. Brian Nathan, the Democrat, has won about 50.25% of the vote, a swing of almost 5 points from the last general election to the Democrats. He only wins by 408 votes, but a win is a win if you're the Democrats in a state where you desperately needed something to go your way. So Democratic gain, I think you can surmise that it was a Democratic overperformance. You'd be right. Here are the numbers. So Donald Trump carried this district per our estimates by about 8.4%. Democrats now winning it by half a point. So you got a Democratic overperformance here of about 9 points, but we aren't close to done. First, we'll show you the new Florida State Senate after this election. So the Republicans on 27 seats, the Democrats on 12, and one independent there. So you need 27 seats to have a supermajority. So the Republicans were at 28. Now they're down to 27. So they have the minimum number that they need for a supermajority. But like I said, we weren't done. Let's move on to the House now. Florida House District 51. This one is more like in Central Florida. It's just to the north of Lakeland, this district. This is the most Republican red district on the map tonight that we're going to show you. It's near Orlando, but it's not in Orlando. It's definitely in more conservative territory, and the results bear that out. But this one did produce some kind of favorable numbers for the Democrats here. So Hillary Hawley, Republicans will evidently vote for some people named Hillary. Hillary Hawley wins this seat with about 54.2% of the vote. Edwin Perez, the Democrat, of 45.6%. You still had a swing to the Democrats of about 2.7 points here, and Hawley ended up winning this district by about 8 points and change. And if you're wondering if this was a Democratic overperformance, it was. They're 2 for 2 so far. So Donald Trump won this district per our calculations by about 13.6. The special election was about 8.4 tonight. So you have a Democratic overperformance of 5.2%. But the last one we're going to talk about here, kind of like Senate District 14, it's interesting, but it's also interesting for other reasons as well. So you can barely see it on this map. If you look in South Florida, you look over towards the East Coast, you'll see a little patch of red. There are portions of this district that are really only a couple of blocks wide, just going down the coast. So this includes parts like, for example, Palm Beach and West Palm Beach. And one very interesting place that happens to be in the 87th district is Mar-a-Lago, which is the home of President Donald Trump. Well, guess what? Donald Trump's new state house representative is going to be a Democrat. Her name is Emily Gregory. She flipped this seat from the Republicans, taking 51% of the vote. John Maples, the Republican, 48.9%. A 10.6% swing to the Democrats here. The Republicans had gotten about 59% here in the last election, so this is a pretty sizable swing. The Democrats win by 766 votes, or 2.3%, but on a huge swing in Donald Trump's home district. And as it so turns out, this was the biggest Democratic overperformance of the night. So we calculated that Trump won this district by about 10 points. In 2024, the Democrats obviously winning tonight with an overperformance of about 12.5%. So a very robust number there for the Democrats as they flip Donald Trump's home seat. And now we look at the new Florida State House with those 2 new seats on the board. The Republicans still well into the majority, but the Democrats with a pickup to get to 34 seats. Wow, that was a lot to take in. Hopefully you stayed with me. If not, what you can do is you can roll back the video, slow down the speed to like 0.5 or 0.75. Listen through it again. But I think at this point you got the gist of it. The Democrats did have a good night in Florida. And now what we're going to do, as we always do before we give our final thoughts on this, we're going to show you the updated standings through March 24th. The Democrats now have won 28 of them. They are +5. The Republicans, 13, -5. So I know that we have been saying consistently in these special election videos that we don't want to read too much into it. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves. I would think that seeing numbers like this now, maybe Republicans are starting to, get a little more concerned about the direction of travel the politics and elections are going in the U.S. this year. Because now they've lost 5 special elections, 2 of them in Florida, and 1 of them was literally in Donald Trump's hometown. So that, I don't know if the Florida GOP is necessarily panicking about it, but they ain't happy about it, I'm sure. So the Democrats now +5 in special elections so far this year, and there have been others that they just narrowly missed out on. So it could even be better than this, but the Democrats +5 so far in 41 special elections that we've measured so far this year. And in terms of overperformances, the gap continues to grow. The Democrats, of course, overperformed in all 3 special elections tonight. This is versus the 2024 presidential result. So the Democrats have now overperformed in 28 of them. The Republicans only in 4. Bad night for the Republicans in Florida. They don't have too many of them these days. But nevertheless, that's exactly what it was. There's really no good way to spin this. Of course, they can say, well, it was a special election, it was lower turnout. Mercury was in retrograde. Some people are upset about the Gators getting knocked out of the tournament and Miami getting knocked out. I don't know. People can say whatever they want. It's not a good look for the Republicans, especially losing that Mar-a-Lago seat, the 87th House District. That is not a good look at all. Some people thought that the Democrats might have a chance at pulling the upset in the Tampa Senate District, which they did. But I think this one, where the Republican in 2024, November 2024, got 59% of the vote in that House race, and the Democrats have flipped it. That's not so good. And even in the Ruby Red District, the 51st District, the Democrats did mount a modest swing, we'll call it, but still a swing. So definitely some troubling signs have been mounting for the Republicans in these special elections. There's obviously still a long way to go until the November election. We're a little over 7 months away from the general election at this point. But the trends here are definitely concerning for the GOP. I think Democrats would have been happy to flip 1 seat in Florida tonight, but they ended up flipping 2. So I think that this is going to exceed their wildest expectations. And I'm not telling you that the Florida Democratic Party is back, because I think we should all know better than to say that based off of 3 special elections in late March 2026. However, the Democrats needed something good to happen to them in this state, and they finally got it. So what they do with any momentum they get out of this, that's up to them. But keep in mind, too, there were special elections last year for the U.S. House. And in both of those, the Democrats had a swing towards them. The Democrats had an overperformance in both of those as well, in some pretty conservative areas. So there have been some signs that the Democrats are doing better than expected in a place like Florida, which for them, it's not a moment too soon because they have been doing terribly in Florida for a while now. So another thing I want to point out, there has been some election analysis that is being done as we record this video, breaking down the results and who voted in these special elections in Florida. So in House District 51, Michael McDonald, who is a professor at the University of Florida, runs the election project. I believe it's called the U.S. Elections Project. He does some good work like tracking early voting data. So he did a real rough, quick analysis of who voted in that 51st district, that House district. And through his calculations, he determined that, yes, some Republicans were voting for the Democratic candidate, but furthermore, that the Republicans did very poorly with independent, unaffiliated voters. I believe he calculated something under 30%. So that's kind of like a warning bell sort of thing. If you're the Republicans getting 30% or less of the independent vote, I don't care where you are. Even though independents are a smaller group in Florida, that's still not a good sign in and of itself. So we'll have to continue to analyze the data that comes up after this special election and then in future special elections to see if there is a trend with something like independents abandoning the Republicans. Because if independents abandon the GOP going into this midterm election, it ain't going to be pretty for them. But again, I will stress, we are still a little over 7 months away from the 2026 midterm elections. Still a long way to go here. But I think this actually might have been the worst night yet of special elections for the GOP this year. The one in Texas, that Senate race in Fort Worth, I think that hurt. But I think this one probably is going to hurt more. You lost 2 seats in Florida, and one of them was the Mar-a-Lago seat. I don't know that there's going to be anything like soul searching going on. But there are probably going to be a few dyspeptic, pissed off Republicans in Florida tomorrow morning. I do think this was their worst night of special elections so far this year. But it's only March, so who knows which way things will go. And if you want to follow those special elections, you got to stay right here at Election Yard. Like and subscribe. Follow us on social media. We'll see you soon.